Japan in the 15th century, when the emperor is only nominal. All sovereign powers are focused on the shogun. And what if the shogun also lost power? It was 1464. Shogun did not have children, so he chose his younger brother to be the successor. But a year later, Shogun suddenly gave birth to a son. Then broke out in a civil war that caused Japan to crumble into hundreds of pieces. The power of the shogun is declining, while local warlords were increasingly free to wage war. The story will be started in a small clan. Matsudera, surrounded by two strong neighbor clans, is the Oda in the west and the Imagawa house in the east. Matsudera must always take precautions on both sides to avoid being conquered. When big fish eats small fish became the rule of times. In 1548, Matsudera was invaded by the Oda clan. The Matsudera's leader had to turn to the Imagawa clan to ask for help. Imagawa's leader agreed to help, provided that Hirotada had to send his 5-year-old son to catch you as a hostage. There was no choice, so Hirotada agreed. When the entourage escorted Takachio to Imagawa territory, then suddenly the Oda army ambushed and stole the boy. Having a hostage in hand, Nobuhide wrote to Hirotada asking to end the alliance with Yoshimoto. If not, the hostage will die. Despite Nobuhide's threat, Hirotada wrote in a reply that he was willing to sacrifice his son to show seriousness in alliance. Yoshimoto saw Nobuhide did not kill the boy but locked him up in a temple. 3 years later, both Hirotada and Nobuhide are dead. Within the Oda clan, there was a succession dispute between the brothers Nobunaga and Nobuyuki. The Imagawa clan sent troops to fight and successfully took the hostages back. However, Takachio was not allowed to return to his hometown to continue being the hostage in the Imagawa territory for many years. Until growing up, he was allowed to return to inherit the position of the clan leader, but actually became a docile vassal of Yoshimoto. Back to the civil war of the Oda brothers, Nobunaga was the eldest son and should have been chosen to be the legal successor. However, it has not been supported by many people because of its loose playfulness, suffered many bad reputations with strange actions, and his young brother Nobuyuki is famous for being polite and has the appearance of a samurai, so he is supported by more people in the clan. However, Nobuyuki was defeated by his older brother in a battle. Soon after he was killed with the war over, Nobunaga became the only lord of the Owari region. Right now, the alliance agreement between the 3 strongest warlords of the central region has been signed, including Imagawa Yoshimoto, Takeda Shingen, and Hojo Ieyasu, with more and more powerful forces. Yoshimoto planned to march to the capital of Kyoto to control the shogun, because anyone who dominates the shogun means mastering Japan. To capture Kyoto, the Imagawa have to go through the Oda clan to get in the way. Yoshimoto gathered a force of 25,000 troops, say exaggerated, into 40,000 troops, and entered the Oda territory. Nobunaga now only holds about 3,000 troops, too large compared to Yoshimoto's army. Many advisors advised him to surrender before it was too late. This is Nobunaga's greatest challenge since becoming a lord. He makes use of his 3,000 troops detour through the forest. The heavy rain made it easy for the Oda troops to go undetected. When the rain had stopped, he attacked directly and suddenly into the barracks.
Here we go!
As for the Imagawa army, they were still drunk and completely unable to keep up. When Yoshimoto died, the Imagawa army disintegrated. Nobunaga's victory made his name known nationwide. This is also the first step in his extraordinary career. After Yoshimoto's death, the weakened Imagawa clan became a lucrative piece of meat for the hungry neighbors. Including the Matsudera vassals, he decided to shake hands with Nobunaga and become close allies. Matsudera also built its own army, acting as a defensive shield for Nobunaga in the east. Shortly after, he changed his name to Tokugawa Ieyasu to assert himself as a descendant of the emperor. Temporarily peaceful in the years, Nobunaga began to perform his ambition. He brought troops to the north to destroy the Saito clan. During this time, many Portuguese came to Japan to do business and to evangelize. European musket was also put into common use on the battlefield, and Nobunaga used it effectively to defeat all the enemies. He began to stir at the city of Kyoto, where Yoshimoto lost his life because of the idea of capturing it. But they bring troops directly, and they will be considered an invasion, and many other clans will work together against Nobunaga. So Nobunaga needs this now as an excuse or a good reason. In 1568, the shogun was assassinated to death. Shogun's younger brother had to flee from the imperial city. He asked Nobunaga for help, and Nobunaga had the right of speech and marched to Kyoto to suppress the rebel forces and raise Yoshiaki to become shogun. Not stopping there, Nobunaga continued to attack south to expand the territory. Seeing Nobunaga's power increasingly overwhelming and conspiracy to turn the shogun into a puppet, so the shogun secretly allied himself with Nobunaga's enemies, and the attack from both sides pushed Nobunaga into the first defeat. Armed Buddhist monks were also caught up in the war. This force is considered as one of Nobunaga's most difficult opponents because it took him 10 years to defeat him. Too angry at Shogun's action against Nobunaga, he exiled the shogun out of the Kyoto and officially ended the Ashikaga Bakufu. In the east, there is Takeda Shingen, dubbed the Tiger of Kai, also began fighting with the purpose of marching into Kyoto to save the shogun. He easily defeated the Tokunaga defensive army. Takeda Shingen is a military genius. With his talent, he can completely destroy both Tokugawa and Nobunaga, but luckily smiled at Nobunaga when Shingen suddenly died in one operation. Shingen's son, Takeda Katsuyori, came to power, continued the expansion into the west. He led 15,000 cavalry into Nagashino to confront the Tokugawa and Nobunaga coalition. Here Nobunaga implemented tactics to use musket muster extremely. When the Takeda cavalry arrived 50 meters away, Nobunaga army behind wooden fence row simultaneously fired. The top row fires, the lower ones reloads, maintaining continuous fire to maximize firepower. The bullets fired through the cavalry's armor. 10 Takeda troops died, 7 completely helpless against the firepower of musket. Katsuyori lost and had to retreat to his territory. He began to associate with his long-term rival Uesugi to prevent Nobunaga's eastern ambition. In 1577, Nobunaga sent 50,000 troops to attack Uesugi. Despite the overwhelming superiority in terms of number, Nobunaga completely deadlocked before the strong resistance of Lord Uesugi Kenshin, who was dubbed the God of War. Kenshin gradually switched from defensive to offensive. Culmination was when he was gathering a large army to enter Nobunaga's territory, then suddenly died in a brain hemorrhagic. After the death of Uesugi Kenshin, no one can threaten Nobunaga's ambition to unify Japan anymore. As a result, he continued the campaign of the territorial expansion until 1582. Much of central Japan was under Nobunaga's control. Nobunaga's talents were not only limited to the battlefield, he was also an outstanding businessman who understood the principle of economics. With tax reduction policies and promoting trade with foreign countries, has created a free and flourishing economy. It helped him to have abundant income to invest in guns and mercenaries. Nobunaga is now at the peak of his victory, when only a few remaining territories were to unify Japan. He sent his general, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, led the army to attack the Mori clan in the west, and he himself went on a trip to Kyoto's Honnu temple without any military guards. Another general, Aichi Mitsuhide, took the opportunity to create a rebellion, bring troops to surround and burn the temple. Nobunaga could not escape from the inside, so he committed suicide. He was only 47 years old. Upon hearing of Nobunaga's death, Toyotomi Hideyoshi from the west immediately returned to overthrow Mitsuhide. In the conference decided on Nobunaga's successor, Hideyoshi chose Nobunaga's grandson, Hidenobu, who was only 2 years old, to make it easy to take advantage. He concentrated all his power in his hand, completely controlling the territory of the Oda clan. Tokugawa supports Nobunaga's eldest son, Nobukatsu, rebelled against Hideyoshi's tyranny. Tokugawa won in some battles, but Ieyasu decided to resolve the war by negotiation. The two sides stopped fighting, and Tokugawa accepted to become Toyotomi's vassal, but in return enjoy some autonomy privileges. Hideyoshi then finished his work to finish Nobunaga's unfinished campaign, be the first to unify Japan after more than 100 years of war. After the war, Hideyoshi issued harsh ruling policies, increasing tax collection and confiscating all weapons of farmers to prevent a civil war from happening again. Despite being at the top of his power, Hideyoshi was still not promoted to a shogun because he came from just a little farmer boy who wore sandals for Nobunaga. In return, he was awarded the title of noble regent by the emperor. Desiring to go further, he began planning expansion abroad. The invasion Korea was launched with the purpose of stepping onto annexed China. The initial invasion took place quite smoothly when the Japanese captured the Seoul capital. But later, he lost to the Ming and Korean armies. Hideyoshi collapsed and ordered a retreat to the country, and shortly after he became seriously ill. Before his death, he chose 5 lords to support his son. In it, Ieyasu is the richest lord of the rest. Rumors started to spread about Ieyasu's taking over Hideyoshi's inheritance, like the way Hideyoshi took Nobunaga's. Therefore, Ishida Mitsunari, a court minister, unite the lords of the West, plan against Ieyasu growing power. And Ieyasu became friends with many lords in the east, forming a counterbalance coalition with the power of the west. The whole of Japan is divided into 2 forces. The Western army is led by Ishida and the Eastern army is led by Ieyasu. On October 21, 1600, 2 sides chose Sekigahara as a place to fight. This is probably the biggest and the most important battle in the Japanese history. With a total of 160,000 troops on both sides, the Battle of Sekigahara ended with a comprehensive victory of Tokugawa Ieyasu. The Western army was crushed and Ishida Mitsunari was beheaded. Ieyasu took power to become shogun, ushering in a period of Tokugawa rule over the Japan.